Welcome, everyone. This is Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show, and we're going to start out right away with the Ryder Cup update. I had Nick Borman on a live show this morning at 7:30 a.m., and he gave out some really good betting opportunities, and also for Sunday to take the USA in the singles, that they'll win the singles format on Sunday. And at the time, it was down to minus 155 VIG, but it's probably not there anymore. I haven't had time to check, to be honest with you. Lots of videos on the Predictive Playbook. Had Dr. Chuck on 2 times today. One for Major League Baseball, one for the NFL. We each gave out a breakdown in a game for you guys to have. In fact, one of them I'm going to do shortly. But Las Vegas Chris will be on this show. You may remember he came in 2nd and 5th last year at the Circa Millions. He did find the checks. We did confirm that, thank goodness. I guess it was about 10 months after he won that he realized that he had never deposited them, is the story I hear. But we're going to have him on, and we're going to talk about a few strategies and concepts. We're going to take a different look at how we calculate ROI for evaluating how our picks and bets are doing. And a lot of the stuff that amateurs don't consider. But professional bettors who do this for a living like us, this is what we do. And it's just as serious as if you were investing in a company and you and you wanted to know the results of what you're getting out of the stock market or the NASDAQ or any type of mutual fund. So ROI can be calculated many different ways, and we'll tackle that shortly. Let's see. Let's go to the Ryder Cup here. The Ryder Cup. The official score is still the same score as this morning, 3-1. The U.S. won 3 out of 4 events. Nick and I both agreed that Rahm and Sergio were going to be very tough to beat. I was a little surprised that they actually paired them up, but after seeing how the rest of the matchups were, it made total sense to me that they were paired up together. Kind of like the Spanish Armada in many ways for Europe here in this Ryder Cup event. So Rahm and Sergio more or less cruise. Sergio now is the all-time leader in points for the foursomes format, which is basically alternate shot, and that's the hardest format there is to play golf. If you haven't done it and you do play golf, you play with a partner tees off, you go to the ball, you hit, and it's very, very tough to get a rhythm, and it's just a very tough format, period. So this afternoon, let's see, we are on hole number 11, and Dustin Johnson and Schauffele won the last 2 holes to go 3 up over Wiesberger and Casey. Scheffler and DeChambeau are 1 up through 10. The U.S. won the 10th hole. They are now playing the 11th against Jon Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton. Match number 3 is through 9. Tony Finau and Harris English 2 up over McIlroy and Shane Lowry. And Fleetwood and Victor Hovland are 3 up already through 8 against Patrick Cantlay and Justin Thomas. So it looks like we have 3 of the matches are the U.S. is winning. And the one European match I just mentioned is the only one that they're winning. So if it ended up 6-2 at the end of the first day, it's all but over. I don't know how else to say it. 6-2 would be almost insurmountable, given the Sunday afternoon singles coming up as well. So they would really dig themselves a deep hole to try to come out of if it ends up the way it is. It looks like the one that Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton are the team I think could possibly have their event or their match or win it. So if you just could go 2-2, that would be huge for them to bounce back from this morning's near sweep. So that's about it from Whistling Straits. I'm sure Pete Dye is somewhere watching this and smiling ear to ear because this is one of his masterpieces, along with Ponte Vedra Beach down here in Florida with the Island Green. But we'll have to see what happens. So I think I'll I'll send a little message to Chris here and let him know that I'm done with the golf, and then he'll be coming on to join us here, and really just a great guy to talk to about NFL football, and not necessarily because he did so well in the sorry, I'm just trying to fix this here. Not because he did so well in the circa, but because he's just so knowledgeable and he's been doing it for so long. That's the reason why. All right, so I'm going to Slack him right now. And then I think Tony Finn and Tony Mejia will be joining shortly too. But this will be a quick hitting segment because we want to be out of here by about 5 o'clock-ish. So my Slack is right there. Sorry, guys. It's been a wild afternoon, but it's been a lot of fun. I'd have it no other way. All right, we're going to send this to him right now. He's probably listening. He's probably waiting for me to send the link. So in baseball, we have Boston and New York facing off tonight in arguably the most important matchup of the whole weekend. And, they're storied rivals. And I'm on Boston tonight, but before we talk about that, let's welcome Las Vegas Chris to the show. I mean, look where he lives. Doesn't even look like Las Vegas to me. You know what? I can't hear you.
Well, you probably couldn't
have
heard me.
Is that
better?
Okay. Yeah, that's much better. That's much better. Thanks for your time and joining us today.
I can go anywhere my mind takes me, John.
Oh, that's what's probably dangerous about the two of us left alone on a show. So we're doing pretty good on this show, and I know you watch it quite a bit. We went 3-1 yesterday, and we're now at 63% over 110 best bets on this show from whoever's been on the show, and it's usually Tony Finn, Rob Vino, Tony Mejia. Steve Merrill stops in once in a while on Fridays, and it's just a lot of guys that contribute to that record. But it just goes to show if you work as a team, what you can accomplish. Right, Tony?
Well, I think it's important the more you network. That sad sack that just appeared on TV now, I network with him quite a bit, and we bounce a lot of ideas off each other, and I think we both benefit from it.
Absolutely. F and Tony, what's going on?
You guys say something?
You can say whatever you want.
Oh, I was just writing Las Vegas Chris a message. Oh, there he is. I just said you suck on Slack. Okay, now that we got that out of the way.
Why did you say that? You had to be provoked, or
yeah. Obviously, you don't know Las Vegas Chris well enough. You don't have. He continually provokes. He constantly provokes me. But I didn't say that sucking was a bad thing. I said it was just.
I have no college football sides for tomorrow yet.
Oh, I know. I thought he was about to say I have no comment on that, which was going to be like a shock. No, I have some intel for you. I'm gonna as we and by the way, you need to improve the parking at
sounds like
Sal's Bar and Grill, not Sal's, but you know what I'm talking about. The Mexican Latino that owns that damn bar. You need to improve the parking. There was no parking when I pulled up. That's why I'm late. Manny's, damn it.
So now you are allowed to leave your house and you don't get pulled over 300 yards away from it?
Well, I was incognito and it was a secret until you just said something. But now I'm certain I'm in trouble.
Well, I knew that's why you're wearing the glasses so we don't recognize you.
I'm wearing the glasses.
Brilliant.
I'm wearing the glasses because I'm old. And I don't
I'll
see
tell
very
you one game that I do like quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And,
When?
You guys can choose to disagree or agree. That's what it's all about. I'm coming off a 7-1-1 college football week 3.
Well, I mean,
So,
fade you. We got to fade you now, then, for certain.
You know, I almost hate saying that because we all know what happens. You know, you go on these hot streaks and you're not intentionally trying to pick losers, but it happens. You know, you don't go 7-1 every single week. I mean, sometimes I don't even go 7-1 for a month. But anyway, Wisconsin's playing Notre Dame. This was supposed to be played last year. It was supposed to be the matchup. This is the first time, I think, since 1964 when Ara Parseghian was just a rookie coach. Another win, and Mr. Brian Kelly, is the all-time leader in wins at Notre Dame, going past the legendary Mr. Rockne. So it is a pretty big deal. But Wisconsin, I think they had 2 games to get the rust off. They had a really tough game against Penn State where, arguably they could have won. You know, you can always say if you should have won the game if you didn't turn the ball over. But I think Wisconsin has the size advantage on the offensive line, and they have that ground game. And when I looked at it the last 2 weeks, and granted it's only a 2-week sample, but they look pretty darn good. And
How are they going to stop that juggernaut Notre Dame rushing offense of 1.9 yards per carry?
Yeah, and
they're throwing more this year,
and they don't have their bell cow. He's gone for the season. His next game will be in the NFL.
Jesus, Notre Dame's 2.9 yards per.
Well, Wisconsin's offensively challenged. I think, is that fair?
Yeah,
Wisconsin's offensively challenged. I think they. I think they can wear down that Notre Dame defense, and then it opens up the play action pass.
Well, that's the problem. That's their problem.
Quarter.
Yeah, if I am the DC for Notre Dame, here's what I do, and that is I bring both safeties up in the box, and I yell over the line of scrimmage, "Effing throw the ball if you think you can." I put my corners on islands and make you beat me through the air. You're not going to run the ball. That's what I do.
Yeah, there's some interesting twist in this too. Jack Cohen, the Notre Dame
quarterback.
Yep, he's now it's the other way around. Notre Dame quarterback Jack Cohen was
Wisconsin
graduated from Wisconsin,
transferred out, graduate transfer.
Right, graduate transfer, and yes. Ches Malusi is also the leading ground gainer for Wisconsin, and he's a transfer as well, and he came from Clemson, where he never rushed for more than 60 yards in a game with Clemson. But now with Wisconsin, he has back-to-back 100-yard games for the first time in his career. So I guess that was a good transfer.
Well, yeah. He wasn't going to get playing time behind the stud that Clemson had at running back. So one of the reasons he transferred. Yeah. And secondly, you should be able to gain 100 yards just falling forward for Wisconsin as a running back. So, yeah, listen, Wisconsin, should we throw last season out? If you can throw last season out and you can tell me that they're capable of protecting their quarterback for 5 seconds so their 4.8 40-yard dash receivers can get open, then I'm with you.
I think they win in cover.
Yeah, I did a show on this, and I don't really have a strong opinion. But if I was going to be on the game, I don't mind Notre Dame. You know, everyone's complaining. Notre Dame we were fortunate here. They were lucky there. They had to score in the last minute of the game to beat the Mud Hens, which is the baseball team.
It was on Toledo.
But there's something to be said. There's something to be said about a team that finds a way to win, despite their liabilities. So I fear those teams. Those are the teams that I have the most problems with putting my arms around. And the problems I typically have, I don't know about you two, the problems I typically have is that I'm never on them or against them at the right time. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
I wouldn't listen. Was it going to surprise me if Wisconsin wins this game? Absolutely not. Is it going to surprise me if Notre Dame does as I said and makes executing their offense hell? Won't surprise me either.
What about UCLA Stanford?
That regression to the mean there, right?
Stanford.
Regression to the mean would have UCLA winning this by about 40 points. Hell, they haven't beat Stanford in 100 years, have they?
No.
Don't you think UCLA's kind of playing over their heads?
Well, if they would have won last week.
But one game doesn't eliminate
it's everything.
Regression, right?
When you lose to St. Mary's, the sister of St. Mary's the Blind, that matters.
Isn't Fresno covering by 24 points a game for the
Fresno's
season?
a good team. Fresno's a good team, and that is another thing. Is that another? You really shouldn't ask me about the Pac-12 because, you know how I feel about the Pac-12. I'll tell you what you do with the Pac-12. You either run from a game or you fade them. That's just my opinion.
UCLA hasn't played a road game yet, huh?
No, not a true one or a fake one.
Probably not enough money in the program to afford the bus.
Yeah, yeah. The UCLA campus, it is definitely it's far from any Los Angeles ghetto. And in fact, if there's a university that resides in a sleepy or an S starting word part of the town, it's USC. I mean, UCLA is Westwood's a pretty good area. Chris knows it. Los Angeles. He knows LA much better than me. He occasionally jumps on his helicopter and heads over there.
It's the Beckcopter.
Yeah, I guess the area around the Staples Arena is not all the best. Probably similar to the Bronx where the Yankees play.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't suggest you go to Shea or New City Field. I suggest you get on the train, you go, and when you leave, you get on the train and get out. If you spent some time there,
Yep.
Yeah.
And I did a free pick on that game, by the way, and my numbers, my math, the models said Stanford.
Well,
and I won't know if I'm right till after the game is over.
Yeah,
that's the amazing thing about betting. You
don't
know if you're going to win or lose until it's over.
It's unfair.
That's why I don't watch the games. It makes no sense to watch it and listen to announcers that have biased opinions that then affect your judgment of
you can watch it.
The numbers.
You can watch it. Just turn the volume down. I mean, I don't usually listen. I just kind of watch. So. I never could.
Myself today, I would not talk about anything that starts with pH.
Balance? pH balance?
Well, it's almost time to close up the swimming pool, I suppose. But
well, we don't do that here.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have to do that there.
Well, you can.
I wouldn't have to either. It just wouldn't be good for the pipes when it gets down to 0 degrees.
You're right. No, it's not good for the surface. Any of that. For the pools, yeah. I don't know. What was it? What did I miss? What were we talking about? Did I come in?
I did the Ryder Cup. You want me to do it again?
No.
No.
There haven't been any fights yet. I'm sure there's been a few fights in the stands though, because I was on live with Nick Borman this morning, and 2 peas in a pod there. Talking about PGA, and we watched the first couple shots, and it did sound like the crowd had already had their breakfast, and probably a lot of liquid, so they don't get dehydrated.
Absolutely. You know what a hydrator that European warm beer is. It's a hydrator. I don't care what people say. Where's it being held at? Where I forgot to ask you
Whistling
that.
Straits, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Right on the western.
Chances of getting European beer in Wisconsin are probably not really good anyway.
Western side of Lake Michigan. And Pete Dye, you know him, right? I taught you who he is. Well, he did the Island Green down Ponte Vedra with the Players' Championship sale every year.
But yeah, I know who Pete Dye is.
Yeah, and he did another masterpiece here, and it's right along a shoreline of Lake Michigan, which looks like the ocean to me. I mean, it looks like you're on the Pacific coast somewhere.
Gotcha.
But the U.S. got out to a 3-1 lead. They're leading currently in 3 of the 4 afternoon matches. So Europe has to find a way to go 2-2, or it's pretty much that lady's about ready to start singing. Well,
when did this start? Yesterday?
Today. This morning there was 4 matches. U.S. won 3 out of the 4.
So is it a 3-day event?
Yes.
So, and you're saying that if they don't, it's game set match already?
Being down to the U.S. 6-2 after day 1, and they do the same formats tomorrow. So morning will be alternate shot, and then the afternoon is better ball partners. Mm-hmm. And they use different, like they call it foursomes. Now,
so what you're saying
has anything to do with alternate shot? I don't know how you would understand that, but that's what that is.
It's scramble. So what you're saying then is
they don't play scramble.
They should. One of my favorites. So what you're saying is, if they go up 6-2, then Europe should just pack their bags and head home.
I
don't think.
What do golfers do when they are just recreationally playing? Drink bourbon, beer,
do drugs, play. They also play. What do they call it? Golden tee.
Yeah. I heard they gamble too on the side.
Oh well, they do that sober, drunk, asleep, awake. Yeah, they do.
But Las Vegas Chris here, I wanted to ask him a question because he wanted to talk about this. And by the way, he's let's see, he is number 1 NCAA football at 16-5 against the spread over at Wager Talk. He's number 1 combined for all football. That means NFL and college combined. And he's number 1 all time in MMA.
I do a few things well. I've had a nice start to the season.
And you did find those 2 checks from the Circa, and they cleared.
They did.
That's incredible. I mentioned that when I always mention that with you. When you come in second place and 5th place in the same year in the same contest with 3,500 entries, that's more than just being lucky. I mean, that's something that is very, very hard to do, let alone repeat.
Well, the odd part was somebody tweeted out today that just because you're down, you're like hovering around 50% after week 2, it doesn't mean you're out of anything. And they mentioned that former winners had been 50% around week 5. And I looked, and I was at 41% after week 5 last year. So I had a very nice run to finish up the year for sure.
Yeah, it's as the saying goes, it's not how you drive, it's how you arrive. Right, F and Tony?
I have no idea what that means.
I'm 6-4 and tickled pink to be after 2 weeks because I think the first 2 weeks of these types of contests are the hardest because what people really don't understand is that if we're giving 3 NFL picks to our premium clients, that's easier to identify 3 premium bets than it is 5. And I got lucky last week. I agonized over Miami, and I finally found, if you keep looking, you can find something to deter you. And then I ended up going with Carolina instead. But up till Saturday morning, I actually liked Miami quite a bit, and then just took them off because it was that was my last pick. So sometimes you have to have a little horseshoe around to help. But it's only just begun.
Yes.
And we all know that. I mean, after 2 weeks, it's kind of like
You throw everything out the window, guys. We're in the land of unknowns because I mentioned to you yesterday when you said teams that start 0-2 in the NFL, the chance to make the Super Bowl, yada yada. I said, well, throw all that out the window because guess what? We have 18 weeks, not 17 weeks, and it applies to contests. And I'm not saying you can start out 0-10 and circa and win it, but 18 weeks is a long time. That's a lot of 5-game sets.
There's a lot of things that go wrong, as we know.
Yeah.
So
yes, sir.
I have a good start. I don't have a good contest start this year, but I have a good betting start. So hopefully it flips around. Wait a minute, that doesn't make sense.
Well, it does make sense because you know what's the Circa Million paying this year for first place?
I think $1 million.
Okay, so
at least $1 million, right?
You're my our $50 bets are no matter how well we do, we're not going to make $1 million, right?
No.
So win the contest. Win the damn contest, will you?
I sometimes like people who don't like follow NFL. Like in my bowling league, for example, I tell them at these contests, it's like buying the Powerball ticket on steroids because you have a much better chance of being a possible winner with 4,000, and you know a little bit about what you're doing and how this all kind of works, and you need to be not getting upset with the bad beats, appreciating the good beats or the good wins, the lucky wins.
You have to expect the bad beats.
Right.
Yeah,
but that's the best way I can describe it. It's Powerball. I mean, I don't even do the Powerball.
No, we don't. We can't. We're not allowed to here.
Oh, that's right.
We got to drive to California or Arizona.
That has to be the most ridiculous thing.
Well, I'm okay with it. I used to spend blindly. I always spent $1 on Wednesday and $1 on Saturday on Powerball. Then they raised it to $2, and I boycotted them. I said, "That's it. I'm done."
You know, I did too. I hated that $2.
Yeah, me too. Bitches raising the price, doubling the price. Didn't double the prize money. Okay, here's the deal. Don't wish me luck. I tell people all the time, please don't wish me luck, although it's a nice gesture. Please don't wish me luck because I can only have one form of luck, and that's bad luck. Why? Because I'm always right.
It sounds like Phil Hellmuth, actually.
Oh well, I might be offended. I'm not.
Well,
you guys
I'm very
live out there.
disappointed in being 6-4, John, because I made the right decisions last week in Titans Seahawks. No Taylor Lewan playing. I felt really good about that. We're up at halftime, and then we got the other game that really just turned against me was Rams Colts. Love the Rams. Up at halftime, got a bad break on the Jack Doyle 2-point conversion, and it is what it is. But I would make those plays again, and I guess that's really all we can.
Well, you're making my point then. Then you're making the thing you booed. You basically validated my point. That you feel the same way then.
No, I just booed you always being right. That's
no. Well, that's what you're saying. You're saying that. Listen, even when I'm right, which is always I'm wrong because I get bad luck. So. I just think I don't luck. You create your own luck. So let's.
I think Custard said the same thing.
Unless it snowballs, then you're in bad luck.
That's why. That's why that's why we're in Vegas. It didn't snow here. Well, it didn't really. It has, but you can't make snowballs out of it. Damn it. You make slush
in here.
This is a lot of fun. I get all my work done and just chit chat.
I'm telling you, it's good stuff.
Yeah, you learned about the Ryder Cup, and
I'm glad I missed that segment.
Yeah, no kidding.
I I just got a text. I might have to run a kind of like an emergency errand here. It's nothing scary.
Well,
it's nothing scary. I would have to go and pick somebody up and bring them back.
well, that would pretty much that would be say let's get the best bets in because you got to go to dinner. You told me you haven't eaten in a week.
But does my face look thinner?
No, but I saw your note was, listen, I'm not going to eat tonight if I don't get off the show by this time. So at least I thought I read that.
I've been so far behind today. I think I'm first.
Guess what?
That's how I am today. But I wanted to talk about ROI.
Then I'm listening.
Different ways to calculate it, which I was really all over.
Well, Chris and I've talked about that. I understand where he's going to go with this. So, Chris, I'd like to hear. I'll work while you talk about this because I know exactly what he's going to say. And guess what? He's right. The problem is it's hard to translate that into what we do. It's difficult because it would take an awful lot of space and it would take awful lot of cyberspace. But he's right.
It's not an easy process. And
right, exactly.
Here's the important thing, and enough of this nonsense is I'm watching people that say, "Oh, well, I'm 70% on this," and I know that these people are laying minus 250 and laying minus 200. What good? You don't know anything when somebody tells you the win percentage, and if somebody claims, "Oh, well, I made all this profit and I've done this." Well, what did it take to make that profit? Did you have to bet $1 million, $500,000, $100,000? You're not telling me anything. So the only measure, and it's really simple, is you go ROI, which how much money did you invest and how much did you get back? It couldn't possibly be any simpler. And why our industry is camouflaging with win percentages and profit, I don't understand it. It's ridiculous, and that's going to be my marketing going forward, is pointing that out.
I'm glad you're doing that. My Major League Baseball right now. It's a 39.78% ROI over the last 127, 4% and 5% best bets. That's all I release, and it concerns me if I put out the percentage, which is about 54. It might even be 53% because I do play dogs. And you put out 53% and people would say, well, what an idiot. I can pick 53%.
Well,
but
part of the ROI figure automatically gives you what your average per bet is. And I forgot about that. So, if your average per bet is plus 120, well, it's right there.
And you can back into that number too, because you can't do that on our portal. But come to think of it, you could easily back into the average wager by knowing the win percentage and the ROI.
Yeah, it needs to be changed, and it needs to be, because everybody's going to it. So, whether you like it or not, you're going to be doing it. So you might as well start doing it now.
That's how they do it in the financial markets.
Yeah.
You buy Apple at 120, it goes to 140. That's $20 gain. You divide by 120, that's your ROI over 12 months.
I just think it's important that if you're going to stand out, you've got to stand out by being professional some way. And you can't, a lot of this stuff takes a little extra legwork, but it matters. And maybe enough people don't care, and that may be the case, and that is certainly the case. But I believe there's a handful of other sites that are promoting this. It's just a matter of time where it's going to be standard in the marketplace anyway. So it's first to adapt.
Yep. And then the other thing I might add, Chris, and you guys know this too. Like if you're guys in the chat room and gals, if you wanted to do this, like I just gave that example of 120. Of Apple stock going to 140. So you also have to annualize that number. If you make $20 in a day that ROI is much higher than if it took you 120 days to do it. So that's the other factor. So your ROI will be very volatile day to day when you first start calculating it, but after you get about 50 plays in, it's going to stabilize, and it's not going to shift up and down nearly as much depending on if a losing night or a winning night.
Exactly.
So so you would, like, you say you have 30 days worth of bets. You would take what you made or what you lost, divide by 30 times 365. That gives you your annualized return on investment.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the high. I don't think that. While you're right, I don't think that that's a priority with what we're doing in the gambling space to figure out what your year-end interest rate is at that level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because, if you're just football, it doesn't make any sense. If you're just a handful of sports, it doesn't make any sense. You don't have earning days every day. So
that is a very great point. Because, yeah, you'd almost have to seasonalize the number, because June and July, as we know, is usually just baseball, and we're about 2 weeks away from having the whole world will be our oyster with college basketball starts. Tony Mejia, when does basketball start?
End of October.
Sometime late October. NBA is like October 18th.
Yeah, I mean that's literally like 3 weeks away. But that's a great point, Chris, because that does impact it. Yeah, well, that's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not that important. I mean, the real important part of it is the bulk number of how much did you invest and what did you get back. So, it changes the whole ball game for, how people are going to be able to market and how the consumer will be able to, honestly be able to judge, because if I was somebody looking to buy stuff, I would be completely overwhelmed with the nonsense I see out there. It's ridiculous.
Yep, I agree. I'm looking at the chat room here. We have a very active chat room today. Sumner Hutchinson the fourth.
Is that a golfer?
I don't think you have to hedge it anymore. I think he means that we should try to somehow book the profit that we started on this show. What was it, Tony Finn? 18-1 when I first suggested it.
On what?
And it was 8
Harper?
to 1 for sure. About 3 weeks ago.
I still think Tatis wins the MVP. So that's just my opinion. I know Harper's had a good month, but I would say this. Neither of those two, Tatis or Harper, are going to be – they're unlikely to be part of the postseason. So what did Harper had a great September. He's had a great he had a great last 30 days, been just outstanding, right? Correct?
Oh, yeah. Since the All-Star break,
what's Philly's record during those 3 days?
It's certainly better because he's there.
How much ground have they made up to be in the playoffs? They haven't. They've lost ground.
They've never had the lead, but they're only 2 games behind now. They fell behind 6-0, and you probably saw my tweet that I more or less randomly put out there because you know how I think.
Yeah,
okay, how many times has Pittsburgh puked up a 6-run lead? Well, it's 7 times in the last 5 years. Most recently, it was
who are you talking about? Pittsburgh?
Yeah, they were winning 6-0.
They've only had a 6-run lead 5 times in the last 6 years. That true?
Yeah, but they had to end up puking it and losing the game.
Exactly.
They didn't win the game.
Yeah, but they haven't had a 6-run lead. How many times have they had a 5 or 6-run lead in the last 5 years?
Well,
Pittsburgh.
I could probably tell you.
Are we talking about? We are talking about the Pirates.
Yes, the Pirates 6-run lead and end up losing the game.
Right.
And the Phillies scored 12 unanswered.
Yeah.
And I might add too that the beanbag game cornhole.
I know it well.
Okay. Guess what the Pirates bullpen was doing the entire game?
Cornholing.
They were actually playing the beanbag game. I
Okay,
kid you
so-
not.
And so, what's your point on that? Because what
Well,
were they supposed to be doing?
I mean, I mean,
They had a 6-run lead.
but that's not. I think they've been doing this for like a while, and
Yeah.
the manager doesn't care or something. I mean, that just seems
Well,
pretty bizarre.
They used to
And
give Earl Weaver a lot of trouble because he would sneak away from the game and go down the tunnel and have a cigarette, And then he finally said, "Okay, you guys give me trouble. Screw you. I'll just smoke in the dugout."
Is the argument against Freddie Freeman just that he won last year? Was that it? Because to me, he's clear cut. With you're talking about the two other candidates aren't going to make the playoffs, and Freeman, since Acuna went down, hit 375 in what, August?
Yeah.
306 in
Well,
July, 311.
Tony, your argument's the strongest because guess what? He's playing for a team that actually progressed at over. Hell, they never were a game over 500 until well after the All-Star break. At any point,
and he started terribly. He was batting
Yeah, it was
230
Mets had the lead.
into June.
So I get here. It is. I'm calling Tatis what San Diego's faded pretty badly in the last 30 days. Philadelphia at one point in time, they'd won 9, 12 straight, something like that, and the New York Ryder or the Philly Ryder, who John has a hard on all the Philly Riders and in most part the media for the most part because and he's right. Their job is to either be really optimistic or to be the polar opposite. So but the guy who wrote that was accurate. Said that winning streak means nothing. Tell me where they're at on October 3rd. Which is, it's a little harsh, but tough love. Sometimes it didn't work this time, but I haven't. Most people haven't counted the Phillies out. If you're only 2 games out of first place, right? However, there's 9 games left, right? 9.
Yeah.
It's making up 2 games. Making up 2 games isn't possible in 9 games unless you have Philadelphia's bullpen, and you've taken your best part of your bullpen, you put them in the rotation. Suarez is still in the. I've kind of started ignoring Philly because when Philly's in this situation they're in, they're just one of those teams that I have a hard time with. I mean, as soon as you think, look at St. Louis. Look what they've done against the competition they've done it against. They've won 13 straight. I never thought. Listen, they were done. They were history. In fact, right now,
total on them.
Huh? I got the under. I know. That was a lock. It was a lock until about 13 days ago. But they have to go. They have to go 3. And well, hold on, let me update that for you. I'm not happy about that. They won. Well, you know what? I think all they have to do. They have to go like 2 and 6 in their last 8 games for me to win my under. I know. And at one point in time, they had to go 20 and 7, and that's what they unbelievable. That is why they play the game, ladies and gentlemen. As soon as you think you know something, somebody shows you that you really don't know much. Every day, the one thing I learn is how much I don't know every day.
Mickey Mantle said that, I think.
Did he?
Andrew odds have Bryce Harper minus 220, Tatis at plus 240, and more meaningless stats with Juan Soto at plus 440. Freeman's at plus 9,000, not even high best odds on his own team. Austin Riley's at plus 7,000. I don't get it. Freeman's hit. To me, he's been the best player in the NL for the last few months.
Well, I think he's the best over across the board. If I had to have one game, Freeman may be my selection. He may be the guy I pick, as far as being the guy I can depend on to say, hey, I need you to do this or that, hit the opposite field. I need a ground ball, or that's the guy. Freeman's the guy I trust.
Yeah, all these guys are flawed. I mean, Trey Turner's been great since joining the Dodgers, but mid-season.
True.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
One question for you guys. The thing that makes Harper stand out is he's going to be probably one of only 5 players in the history of baseball. One of the names is Babe Ruth. To have, and I got to remember what this is. I think he is the major league leader in doubles. He's 2 behind Tommy. No, where is he? Candelario of Detroit and Edmund of St. Louis have 41. He has 39, tied with J.D. Martinez. So 39 homers. So 30 doubles, 30 homers. He has 33 homers. And I apologize for not remembering what the rest of it is. His on-base percentage is .432, which is tops in the majors. That's 21 points ahead of second place Vladimir Guerrero Jr. On-base percentage, like with Moneyball Analytics, is everything. It's not like how many hits. It's how many times does this guy get on base, just like in the movie.
Well, what are you saying about Harper? Again, I'm a bad guy in this situation because here's the deal: it's most valuable player. If he's so valuable, why aren't the Phillies in first place and headed to the playoffs?
Because unlike the other teams, like the Dodgers, he has nobody protecting him in the lineup.
Well, then it doesn't make him the most valuable player. It makes him the most valuable player on the Phillies.
Where would the Phillies be without him?
Well, right where they are now. Out of the playoffs.
I bet you they'd be 15 games under 500.
Again. So let me ask this. If they were 15 games under 500 right now and Harper had the same numbers he has, is he the most valuable player?
That's a good question. I think
it just depends on how you.
It's kind of like DeGrom when he won the Cy Young. He had a losing record.
Yes, well, he had less than 10 wins. Right. Cy Young is a different award. It's the best pitcher. It's not the most valuable pitcher. It's the best pitcher. MVP stands for most valuable player.
And that's misinterpreted. I agree with what you're saying. The most valuable player should be the most valuable player in terms of his team. But regardless of record, how much value does that player bring to that team?
Then you bring in a lot. Then you really
not that he's batting third and hitting home runs.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I understand.
I'll find out what that stat is with the 4 because that's pretty impressive when you have that many doubles. 30-30. Remember when Ricky Henderson used to go? What was it? Did he go 40-40 the one year? No, it was Canseco. 40 steals, 40 homers.
No, Ricky Henderson, no, but nobody can. I mean, he stole 100 bases more than 100 bases 3 years in a row, and that's unfathomable.
176, I think, the one year, wasn't it?
Unfathomable. Today's baseball.
I tell you a little experience I had. I was watching down at Camden Yards, and Rick Dempsey was the catcher for the Orioles at the time. Really good arm. Henderson gets on first, steals second without a throw. The very next pitch, he steals third without a throw. He comes up 2 or 3 innings later and repeats it. And Dempsey never had a chance to throw him out. Didn't even throw the ball.
Who was pitching?
Was so incredible.
Who was pitching? You put somebody on the pitcher.
Well, that's true too. I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's what made John Lester so incredible because he was so good getting the ball home. He didn't have to worry about throwing over to first, which scared him to death. He was scared to death to throw the ball to first. It still is. So what do? You do the slide step. You don't take that big. You just go right to the plate.
Yeah.
And there's guys that pitch out of the stretch with nobody on too. I kind of like that because you're balanced, you're centered, and you're not going to lose significant velocity doing that either. But we're getting a little off track.
Wherever you want to go, what's
you want to start final round of best bets here? I'm game if you are.
If that's whatever these guys want to do, I'm fine with whatever
that
they
works
want
for
to do.
me. I gotta knock out some baseball picks.
Yeah, me too.
So, Mr. Mahir or Mr. Finn, you can do a coin flip to see who goes first.
Call it.
Tails.
Hey,
You lose. You go first.
All right. I will wrap my boy Rob Bino in this because he took it on the college football show that we just did, and so I had to take Texas Tech. So maybe I'll give them both out. I think Texas Tech's going to cover against Texas, and we're both in agreement that it's going to be a high-scoring game. Total's been set at 62. It seems a little low. That figure's been topped in 5 of the last 6, featuring the Red Raiders and Longhorns. Really didn't love the fact that Casey Thompson got the job over Hudson Card. Card looked great against Louisiana, looked terrible against Arkansas, but that was a collective failure. And all of a sudden, Sarkisian said, "I've seen enough. I'm going back to Thompson." Thompson's led scoring drives in 16 of his 18 drives that he's piloted since taking over in the Alamo Bowl last year. So, I mean, he's had success, but more of a running quarterback. Certainly a different look than Card gives you. Card's more of a passer. Card reminds me more of Ellinger, even though Ellinger uses his feet. Ellinger threw 5 touchdown passes in this game last year. The Longhorns won in overtime, 63-56. I think it'll be lower scoring than that, but I think Texas Tech hangs around. So we're going to take the points. Now it's, I believe, 9. Started at 11-ish, went down to 7.5, and I think a big line move came down yesterday, and it's back up to 9. Total over 62. Give me them both.
I'm writing it down, Tony. Recap that one more time so I have it right with the lines.
Texas Tech plus 9 at Texas over 62.
Awesome. Mr. Finn, what do you have for us?
I'm going to go to a game tonight in the American League that I wrote a little bit on that I think is essentially, well, in a nutshell, it's a game that I didn't think was getting enough coverage because I think that the Cole versus Evaldi tonight is the Yankees' biggest game of the year. In fact, it's a game tonight. I compared the game to equal to all other 161 games combined for a couple reasons. Where the Yankees sit, who the schedule, what their schedule is, where Boston owns a 2-game lead right now for the number 1 chair in the wild card bracket. The Yankees have the 2nd slot. Closely behind them are Toronto. And the Yankees have 3 games in Fenway. They go north of the border. On Monday, they have 3 games in the old Sky Dome. And then they head back home for 3 games at New Yankee against Tampa Bay. So all those teams are playoff teams, or at least in contention for playoffs. Toronto hungry. And this 3-game series against Boston starts tonight. Tonight is the game that decides 2 things. One, it decides whether, here we go. It decides whether Cole or Evaldi is a Cy Young winner. I listen. I think Cole. I don't want to go back to 2016 and talk to you about Rick Porcello when he was 22-7 or whatever he was, 22-5 with a 3.3 ERA. Justin Verlander was better than him in every single category, bar none. And Porcello won the Cy Young. It may be here we go to maybe my point I just argued with you, John, or not argue, but discuss with you, is that Boston was a pretty good team that year, too. Pretty good team. And a big part of that, who Porcello was a product of Boston as a team. But tonight, these are the kind of moments that people kind of ignore. You know, I know unless you're a Boston or a New York fan or a passionate baseball follower like I am, and I have lots of stories about growing up in baseball, how influential it was in who I am and how I perceive baseball, or how I think it should be played. This is basically it's a big game. This Yankee team needs to essentially they need to sweep Boston this weekend or they need to win 4 out of the next 6 games, which means they need to win 2 or 3 against Boston and 2 or 3 against Toronto before going home to face Tampa. To, should I say, hold serve, right, on the second wild card spot. That said, I've had arguments which are valid, and that is, well, Tampa Bay in that final 3-game series, they've already won. They're going to be the East champs. They're the winners. So maybe they're resting everyone. Well, you know what? If I'm Boone and the Yankee skipper and Tampa Bay is sitting and playing I worry more about that. And don't do that. Give me players that are predictable, that I know I have numbers on, stats on. That's who I want. That's who I want to face. That's who I want to scheme to. So that said, those who believe Eovaldi, listen, Eovaldi's been really good. Now, and Eovaldi has his calling card's always been his velocity, his four-seamer. It could reach triple digits. That's what he was when he was healthy. Health is an issue for him. But this year, what has he done? He has done his secondary offerings. He's commanded his secondary offerings, and the swings and misses he's getting on his curve and slider are head and shoulders exponentially more successful than ever in his career. He's had a good year. He's the most reliable pitcher in sales back, and he would typically be the story when it came down to Cy Young. It's Eovaldi, but I like Cole. If it comes down to Cole having to use tack, I mean, Cole's made some adjustments, guys. When he had that bad run, it was right when we were having all the hoopla about the foreign substance. Remember, end of June. He was also trying to get over a hamstring injury. Since then, really, other than his last start, which was an aberration, only went 3 innings, 80 pitches, and he got hit pretty hard by a team he shouldn't have got hit pretty hard by. Everything he did was wrong. So tonight, I think everything he does is right. I think that Yankees win this game at a near pick'em price with Cole versus Eovaldi at Fenway, and do it convincingly. I also think that they'll win 2 or 3 of the series, and it's not impossible looking at the matchups that they sweep. But tonight, it starts with tonight. It starts with the best pitcher in the American League, and that's Cole, setting down the Red Sox lineup and basically, without saying a word, telling Eovaldi that he needs to use more tack. Take the Yankees minus 115.
All right. Question for you.
Yeah.
I think realistically the Yankees have a good chance or an opportunity to take 2 out of 3. Mm-hmm. And I can make a case that Boston wins the series as well. But Boston, I was looking at the percentages here and just calculating them a little bit in my head. Boston is like 95% certain to make the playoffs. And the reason is they finished with 3 games in Baltimore.
Yep.
And then 3 games against the Nationals. And
right.
Eovaldi's going to pitch 3 times over the next 9 games.
That's not true. Here's what I say. If Boston is in a position on the last game of the year against Washington, Eovaldi won't pitch.
Well, if they're in, yeah.
That's right.
I agree.
Well, but what you're saying is that a 95% chance he won't pitch that 3rd game. He won't pitch it. If they're in the playoffs, he won't pitch it.
Right. So conceptually, they could get swept by the Yankees and then win out.
They could.
And they would be in.
That's right. That's right. But I don't want my team. I think we would all agree. Listen, I don't care who you're playing, whether, if you're the big bad boys facing the little small, if you're David and Goliath, if you're David, let's put it this way. If it's you and me and we have to pick sides and it's playground ball and we have to have the win, well, we're probably going to pick Goliath. And David will, wield his slingshot and down we go. I don't, that's a bad situation. Let's use St. Louis as an example. Look what they've done with the schedule they had, John. You and I talked about
Amazing.
This. So they have no chance. No chance. I know.
And they're 98% to make it.
A big part of that was Milwaukee was resting a lot of guys. They were shortened the pitch count for all their pitchers. And guess what? That's the things you have to take into consideration. Right now, you got 9 games left. And those who are listening and all of us, you have to be pretty careful. Who's going to pitch? How many pitches they're going to let them throw? Who's going to be in the lineup? And do they care about winning? Unless your team is fighting for best record, unless your team's still fighting to be in first place, for that automatic berth or for a wild card, then you have to be pretty careful.
Yankees really streaky. They need tonight's game to springboard them.
I agree.
I mean, they lose tonight. I don't like it. I mean, I like the position they were in. They did what they needed to do against the Rangers. Got the sweep. That was key. But yeah, you need
tonight's the biggest game of the whole season.
Completely agree with you on that. Yes. They could go in the tank or they could win 5 out of 6 and with road trips.
It all starts with Cole.
Back to back.
It all starts with Cole anyway. Without Cole at his best, this Yankees pitching staff isn't going to overwhelm teams, not playoff teams. So Cole sets as you said, Anthony, Tony, Cole sets the stage for where the Yankees going to be October 4th.
Do you like the under or Fenway take you out of that?
No, I would take under 9 in this without question. Basically, Eovaldi's good enough. He's also right-handed, and anytime you throw a quality right-hander at this Yankees heavy right-handed lineup, you have a chance to hold them to 3 or 4 runs. And what surprised me tonight is this game was 4-1, 5-0. Yankees win, not at all.
Higashioka is catching them, which is good because Sanchez can't hit Eovaldi anyway.
Because guess what Kisuki is against Eovaldi? He's 2 for 2 lifetime.
And I mean, Cole's got great numbers against the Red Sox.
Yes, he does.
Evers 188, Iglesias 176, JD 167,
170,
167,
170 some lifetime at bat appearances against the Yankees line or the Red Sox lineup. They're hitting 240, which said, and that's a career. That's just not this year in dead ball. That's good. Those are good numbers against traditionally good hitting Red Sox teams.
Yeah, definitely need tonight's game.
Yeah.
One thing working against the Yankees from my database I just looked up, they've hit a home run, at least one in 15 consecutive games, and historically, that's actually I guess a sign for regression, but it's the Yankees and it's the Red Sox, so you can probably throw that out the window, but it's kind of fun to talk about.
You know what? The conditions favor the Yankees as well. The venue, I think we got, it's chilly, 75, mid-70s. There's a 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing out. So if you're gonna give me a 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing out at any stadium and the Yankees are involved, I think that's a plus for New York.
I'm certainly not saying they're not going to hit one. It's probably, and that's probably why the total is 9.
Yeah, I agree.
But all right, so your free pick is on the Yankees full game?
Yes, sir.
Yankees full game. Now we can move on to Las Vegas Chris here.
We'll move on to the important pick. That'd be Las Vegas Chris.
Well, I'm not sure that I could offer anything is in a compressed format as Tony was able to get across so rapidly there.
I was going to argue with him, Chris, but there wasn't enough time.
Yeah. Well, you know something? I believe being thorough.
Succinct. That's Tony Finn.
I could have made it through reading the third of War and Peace.
How many years have people told me that my write-ups are too long, too detailed? How many times have they told me you're covering too much information? How many times have I listened?
And if only your wife would complain that you do something too long too, huh?
Drink?
Well, they have medication for that. They don't have medication for diarrhea of the mouth. Maybe they do.
You know what? I'm glad Summer in the chat was kidding about the ROI. I appreciate the comments in there. Anyway, I'll offer up Washington plus 7.5, which is getting harder to find for Sunday is a free play here. Buffalo's offense just isn't on track. Allen hit lower than 50% completion rate last week. He's back to his college numbers for the season. He's at 56%. He did 55% at Wyoming. Threw for less than 200 yards. The offense is sputtering right now. And I'm not a big believer in the Washington defense, but I think Heineke has more support as quarterback than Fitzpatrick does from what I'm reading. And they're behind this guy, and they're going to play hard for this guy. And if you saw him come out against the Giants, he's mobile and he seemed to be competent. So just kind of asking them to stay in the game is my thought. And while I'm not a huge believer in their defense, they do have some defense that might be disruptive. And we have yet to see Josh Allen play well in front of crowds. He played the entire last year in empty stadiums. And as soon as he went in front of crowds in the playoffs, he crashed and burned. So he's back to 2019 numbers again, albeit it's only 2 games. But show me you can do it. He got his big payday. All the pressure's on him. Deliver. That's it.
See how quick and concise that was, Tony, Finn?
Did you say something? John?
Yeah, the chat room's been great today. This is awesome. Too many things to even to cover them all, so sorry about that. But I like this one. Wyatt Chapman's always been a regular here. He has a 3-foot beard that he grew while Tony started capping the Boston, New York game.
Well, might I say that we need to have you looked at, because that alone is historic, and probably we can probably sell whatever that you're smoking that makes that beard grow. So that it only took me 3 years to do that analysis. What do you want? And then see how you encourage. See, here's the deal, Wyatt. These guys will attest. You can't bother me. It can't. No matter what you say, I'm too old. I've heard it all. You can't bother me. I will do what I do.
I guess it's my turn now.
There you go.
Do you want an NFL game or the Ryder Cup?
Well,
I will make this prediction.
Yeah.
I can't help myself, and don't get me started. But I would actually, if there was a betting market for it, the Denver Nuggets will be the recipient of Ben Simmons, and maybe by next week.
Well,
just a
who
thought.
they trading?
Just a thought.
Yeah, you have to have salaries match up.
The one combination
they pay
I
penalty.
heard would work, but whether it's true or not is a completely different thing. But it does seem like he won't be attending camp on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, that's a safe bet. I just don't see. They just re-signed Aaron Gordon. I think they re-signed Will Barton. Those two would have to be in the deal, and I don't see that happen. Because you're not trading Jamal Murray.
Who's the must-have guy to stay in Denver? Because that name was mentioned, and I'm just drawing a blank.
Jamal Murray?
Yes. Yeah, that's the name.
He's injured, so I don't think Morey would trade for him anyway.
I don't think they'll trade. Here's the deal. Here's the problem with Denver, and that is that they already sent one of their second best backcourt player, who was their defensive specialist. He's gone. I just don't see Murray leaving, but then I could be wrong. Do you get back what you? I don't know. Ben is. Ben's a
tremendous defensive player.
Well, here's what I'm going to do too. When you have Ben, again, it's 4-on-5. Ben, shoot all you want. In fact, I want you to take every single shot this game from 15 feet and out. We'll win.
Well, wherever he goes, hopefully he'll get it fixed. Because I like stories like that where somebody overcomes something. And
Magic Johnson, horrible shooter from the outside. Okay.
Yep.
You want me to go on? There's been lots of guys who improved their shot. A kid couldn't hit the rim.
That's a real good example.
Feet.
That's a real good example.
Those guys, obviously, they didn't all of a sudden overnight turn into good shooters. They worked hard at it.
And another team that can't hit from long range is certainly the New York Jets. And did you know? That was a perfect segue, wasn't it?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess.
The Jets have now failed to score a touchdown from scrimmage in 14 consecutive games. That's only comparable to the Rams.
It's only comparable to Ben Simmons from the free throw line.
So poor Zach Wilson. That's my new underdog. I'm going to stop talking about Simmons. I'm going to start talking about Zach Wilson with hardly an offensive line. So you play against Belichick. Belichick goes to 22-6 against rookies, but I can never say this guy's name right. Fangio. Like fan.
That's a nice
Gio.
Italian
Okay,
name.
Fangio improved to 18-9, either as a defensive coordinator or head coach against rookie quarterbacks, and they run that thing that Tony Finn calls the mesh, where they line up. And it's a 50-50 proposition that you're going to get what you see, and at the snap of the ball, the defense then goes into the scheme they want to run. There's no moving around, jumping around by Denver's defense like some other schemes involve. And I might add that Zach Wilson's passer rating, 37.2, is almost identical to Lawrence's 37. And we have two similar defenses, I think, here. And Lawrence gave 2 interceptions and passed for 118 yards, 14 of 33 against the Patriots. So the learning curve from the college, which we always talk about and emphasize, is light years to the NFL. The speed of the game is light years. These wide receivers who in the SEC dominated, they then get lined up in the pros with somebody that's faster than them. And there's an adjustment. So I thought another thing I'd mention here in this matchup is Teddy Bridgewater is only the 4th quarterback in NFL history to start a season with 2 touchdown passes or more in each game, 0 interceptions, 75% completion rate. And he's only the 4th one to ever do that. So that's kind of a rejuvenation of his career, to say the least. So to make it very short here, I like the under quite a bit in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets don't score another touchdown from scrimmage in this game. I think that is probably better than a 50-50 proposition that they only get field goals. And even though Denver at the Westgate in the preseason, as we can see from this right here, I have to show this to Chris sometime on another show. But here we have where is the thing is the comments covering it up. All right, so Jets Broncos. Broncos, when the Westgate put out the lines for all 17 or all 18 weeks, side and total was 5.5, and a total of 42.5. That was basically a 24 to 18.5 type of game. Now it's up to 10.5, and the total has stayed basically the same. So that is one of the bigger moves this week of 5. You can see the highlighted areas where it says market adjustment and total adjustment, total meaning total line. The biggest move is 7. And what I've learned historically here is that when you get numbers like this, if there's not reasons for injury, and it's just a market move because of perceptions made by the betting communities about these teams, it's a contrarian. So I also have a play under the Seahawks and Vikings, which I did earlier this week. At 55 versus 48, I like that play too. So I'm on Denver minus the points, under first half Jets, Denver, and under Seahawks, Vikings. And I bet you Las Vegas Chris wishes I would have showed that spreadsheet before we started talking about the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Yes, I would have had fun looking at it. You can send it to me.
And so your free pick was that much shorter than mine?
I did 3.
Yeah.
I did 3, and I
right.
wanted to debate that Yankees
I know
Red
you
Sox because I have a little bit of passion with the Red Sox, you know.
Yeah. I have passion with who my money's on. Then it's not.
I would have never guessed. I would have never guessed.
Not Ben Simmons.
So I don't even have to recap the picks. And Chris, you'll have stuff on Waiter Talk for MMA this weekend too.
Yeah, I already have a package up, but I'm working on that now, trying to add some more plays. I've been doing pretty well on MMA. What's really important to me is ROI, not risking a lot to win a little. I try to have mostly underdogs and positive paying releases. Although last week and this week I do have some favorites that are uncommon, but I hit most of the board too. I hit usually 10, 11, 12 plays, and not doing that bad.
And you're number one at Wager Talk, which is saying something. That's
well, I release 1% and 2% plays, and somehow I'm always battling back and forth for number one profit for the year. So, I just chip away, slow and steady. No huge swings either way.
I like it. That's the way it's supposed to be. Not one big huge bet that happened to get lucky in the Super Bowl or something.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, that's one of my pet peeves is when I see people trying to sell MMA and they're like, oh well, I'm 67%, on my MMA plays, and that person's lost a minus 200, minus 225, minus 250, and it's like, at what point do what are you supposed to do to try to compete with that? So, some of my thought process is, well, what's tactful? If people are going to be that discourteous to you, why not just call them out? Do I owe them anything, or should I just call them out?
Well, I guess the first question would be if they understand what ROI is and why you use it and how it reflects performance.
I don't think I've done a very good job of explaining it. I've asked a couple of people. I put something out recently, and it's people don't grasp it for some reason.
Maybe I should write an article about it.
When Summer was joking in the comments about it, saying, "Well, I don't give a shit about ROI. I just want, as long as I keep making money, that's all I care about." I didn't know whether he was serious. He said he was joking, but you don't know if people are serious or not when they say that.
But I guess what he was saying was whether it's a minus 150 or a plus 150, as long as it wins, it's fine. And kind of tongue in cheek.
I mean, I see people lose plays. I'll have 10, 11 plays for a night, and I'll see people lose more money on one play, a higher percentage bankroll, than my entire 10 or 11 play card had combined risk.
Yep.
So there has to be a metric for people to understand the differences in these situations.
There's a Wall Street indicator that measures exposure. There's also a metric called beta, which I started thinking about for comparing a basket of sports that are being bet on during the same days and months, like we're going to have pretty soon between now and the end of the year. But we can save that for another show.
Let's do that. I got to get back to work, guys. I'm going to leave you guys.
Well, I'm going to sign off right now.
Okay.
So thanks for your time, guys. And on behalf of F and Tony,
all right, you guys.
Las Vegas Chris, and myself, WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, may all the wins be yours.